like to call the Cuyahoga County Region 3, One Ohio Advisory Committee meeting to order on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 at 2:05 p.m. Roll call, please.
All right, if I call your name and you are designated alternate, just let me know. Mayor Nicole Daly Jones.
Here.
Chris Ronayne. Brandy Carney. David Merriman. Here. Pernell Jones. Lauren Anthes. David Margolius. Blaine Griffin. Mark Musson. Stephanie Pryor. Judge Ron Adrian.
Here.
Michael G. Riley.
Here.
Tim DeGeeter.
Bob Corey for the mayor.
Ernie Vargo. Matt Burke. Kirsten Holzheimer Gale.
Here.
Edwin Hubbard. Tom Olmsted. Scott Osecki. And Joan England.
Here.
All right, we have 7 present currently, so quorum has been reached.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the minutes from the September 24th, 2024 meeting. If there are any additions or corrections, there was one correction that I noticed under roll call. The members in attendance were not listed. So if we could just have those listed, that would be great. Thank you. Any other additions or corrections? Okay, seeing none. All those approving the minutes from the September 24th, 2024 meeting as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Minutes are approved. We will once again call for the election of a vice chair of this committee. I know that we had a brief discussion at our last meeting regarding, I think, maybe if there were any conflicts of interest with certain members who might be interested in that position. I don't recall if Brandy, has an update on that. So we could just hold off on this and put it under old business for either later today or at the next meeting, if that's acceptable, unless one of you fine people would like to volunteer and we could have a vote right now.
Mayor, we did have a nomination at the last meeting of Lauren Anthes.
Yes.
And he was gonna check it out as far as
Right,
conflicts.
and yes, and I think Brandy said she was also going to check with the law department as well. So that's, I just haven't heard.
Yeah, I believe, and Kevin would have better info than I do, that he is fine to move forward with the nomination on both ends.
Okay, all
If
right.
that's still the consensus with the committee.
Sure. Well, if he had been nominated, do we need to, can we proceed with a vote at this time? Or, again, should we wait and?
For him to be president.
Yes.
Just to make
Best time to do it is right now.
Yeah. Well, agreed. I think if it's the pleasure of the committee, I think we'll move this to old business for today.
I think it's a great idea.
And we'll move on. Okay. Is there anyone who's here for public comment today? Okay. Seeing none, we will now have an update from our State Foundation Board representative, Sarah.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. In a while.
Here, Nicole, let me see if should I mute this, or does somebody else have their phone on? Does anybody have the meeting on by phone?
Oh, that did it.
All right. I didn't do anything, but thank you.
Okay. Something happened.
Look at you, powerful
Yeah.
woman.
That works. Is there anyone on virtually?
I just submitted, Tom Olmsted.
Okay, let me,
Hello, everyone.
hello, hey Tom.
Okay.
I am new to you. I'm Sarah Anstein, Director of Partnership and Outreach at the One Ohio Recovery Foundation. In my role, I work with all 19 of One Ohio's regions to support them and guide them through the grant review process. So many kudos to Region 3. Y'all had a ton of grants to review. Did great work reviewing all of them and making your recommendations. Y'all voted back in September. As you know, 'cause you just approved those meeting minutes. At the end of November, we did a debrief meeting with the leadership of the Region 3 board. We did these with all 19 of our regions, just to talk about the year, how did it go, feedback. So really appreciate y'all for participating in that. I know some of what we talked about then we'll be discussing here. But so through all of those debrief meetings and the survey that we sent out as well, we got a lot of really great feedback from y'all about process improvements, changes you'd love to see in the grant portal. So we've been busy making as many of those changes as we can and thinking through system enhancements and all that we can do. Some other exciting things, all of the grant awards have been announced. So the foundation board started announcing some of those grants back in November. And if you remember that these were being done on a rolling basis because regions finished up at different times. So from like November all the way through February 12th, every Wednesday we had grant award Wednesdays. I'm sure many of you got those emails where we were announcing the grants. So everyone that applied that did not get funding was notified back in December. If someone's saying, I haven't heard anything, have them contact us. Some folks are saying, it went to spam. But everyone was notified of either their award or their declination. We did a grant writing workshop in January. We had over 500 people attend, which is pretty great. And we have the recording of that on the website and the PowerPoint. We're going to do a few other Impact Academies this year focused on future grant applicants and really the larger field. What can we pour into them to help kind of elevate everyone? So the next one will be on sustainability that I'm really excited about, and we'll highlight this free tool that folks can use to assess their organization's sustainability, because it is more than just money that goes into whether your program and your organization is sustainable. And then some more things around being evidence-based, and how do you find the evidence and how do you write about the evidence. Those were some things that we saw in the applications where folks could use a little more support in their writing. So everything we're doing this year is responding to kind of the feedback y'all gave from having reviewed and changes you want to see. The other thing we'll be doing this year is launching a toolkit for the regions, because now we've got some best practices that have emerged. We have great feedback, things we want to highlight, because we didn't have anything. What is this? How does it work? How do we all fit into this? So we'll be launching the toolkit here soon, and then we'll be doing region collaborative calls. So those will take the place of the region recap meetings that we used to do on Fridays following our board meeting. So we'll still do that Friday at noon, the second Friday of every month. But on these different regions, we'll have an opportunity to present a different part of their work, whether it's, how they did their grant review process, or how they brought in community stakeholders to give feedback to inform their funding priorities, different things. So we're really excited about that. So be on the lookout for those emails. So specific to the grants, projects are underway. Initial payments have started going out to the organizations. They have to do, so all of our grantees will be doing fiscal and outcome reporting every 6 months. So their first one will be due. It will be for January through June. They'll have all of July to fill it out. And then as quickly as we can turn around those reports, we'll come back to you at whatever that next meeting is for y'all and give you an update on how the grants from Region 3 are doing. And then anytime we do a site visit in the region or a grantee lets us know of an event, a ribbon cutting, whatever, we'll invite all of you. Because that's the fun stuff. We want to get out in the community. We want to see these dollars at work, tour programs. So you'll be getting invited to all of those events that we do as they come up. So as y'all remember, you've got, projects that are for more than 1 year. So we've got a couple years to get out in the community and see these programs. So I know I just said a lot of stuff. We've been busy. I'm excited. I hope you can tell. So happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
So what's the total number of grants that were made?
Yes, let me double check. So for Region 3, y'all recommended 12 organizations for a total of 1.6 million. But as the entire foundation, we have 245 projects. So we're managing 245 projects across 202 organizations.
Is the toolkit targeted for the regions or for the grant applicants?
The toolkit is for all the regional boards.
Okay.
Yeah.
One further question. And how long is are these funds projected to last?
That's a great question. It's part of what our board is discussing right now. So we will get payments over the course of 18 years. Not all of the settlements go the full 18 years. Some end after, I think it's like 9. And then one of them stretches out till 18 years. So our funding is really front-loaded. And our board is having a lot of discussion about kind of the philosophy. How long do we want these funds to last? How quickly do we want to spend them all down? If we want to spend them all down altogether, or do we want, kind of split the difference and have consistent funding over a longer period of time and still spend them all down? So it's been a hot topic, a lot of different perspectives on our board. So as soon as we get a little more clarity from them about which direction we're going, we'll have more to communicate.
Sir, can we get any feedback on the grants that we recommended and how they fared at the foundation board and at the expert panel? I'd be interested, for example, to know if some of them were, difficult to accept or to grant, or they had to negotiate lots of changes.
Yeah.
Or did it go smoothly once it left this room?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that they all were approved by the board. I know there was probably some, because we had everyone do a verification form, so kind of resubmit your budget. There was actually cost savings we were able to find through that, because some organizations, we caught, they maybe put in more admin than they needed, or they already got a little bit of funding for something, so they didn't need as much. So if anything, we were able to save regions money that will stay with you for the next round, but all of y'all's got approved. Nothing is coming to mind as having been something that took a lot of staff time, so that's good.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So good job, thank you. We appreciated that.
Similar question. Is our chart here and our breakout similar to what we saw in other regions, or were we markedly disparate in any? If you don't know, we can look at that.
Y'all are y'all had a number of abatement strategies you funded in. The most popular funding priorities and where the majority of our funds went were prevention and recovery supports, followed then by treatment. So y'all did quite a bit with children and families and criminal legal.
So are these published on the website for all the
We're
regions?
in the process of putting them on the
Okay,
website.
so would you please maybe let our board know when they're populated, and then we could, because it would be, to the members' points, like, it would be interesting to see
Look
just
at the others.
an interest of, like, yes, how other regions decided to fund.
We plan to make infographics specific to each region for social media, and we'll have some more kind of stuff as soon as we get it.
Yeah, these are really nice.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But we had to wait for all the regions to finish so we could have the totals. So sorry it took, a little long, but we got them now.
I had a couple questions.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
This question is mostly because Scott was late.
Sorry. Apologies. I texted Brandy, but she's not here.
I didn't.
Did you do it?
She's upstairs,
So you
she's
talked
coming.
about a focus on sustainability. Could you talk more about that in the future? What does that mean?
Yeah, so on April 2nd, we'll do a webinar, free webinar for folks on sustainability. The folks will present the PSAT tool, and it's free, and organizations can take that assessment and get a report of their organization. But from kind of reading the feedback from all of the grant reviewers and our expert panel, and even our board, going forward, I think sustainability is gonna be a key area.
Meaning, this is my real question.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding, meaning what?
Yeah, after the grant funding ends, will this program be able to continue?
Oh,
Will they have
altogether.
other funds?
Oh, okay. The one,
Yeah.
sustainability of the ones we selected, or okay.
Yeah, will they be able to, is there other funding they can leverage, different things like that, so, because we wanna make sure these projects continue. If we're not able to continue funding them full.
I have a couple questions. One, will you be able to also let us know when you're scheduling the online trainings, or are those just for grantees?
The online trainings, like the one on sustainability,
Yeah,
y'all will all get all the emails,
okay, great.
Yep.
For multi-year grants, because I know we had several,
yes.
is there a midpoint check-in for us, or is that your responsibility?
It's the responsibility of the foundation staff, but we
Okay.
will share with y'all how things are going.
Okay,
Every year we do a compliance check with each organization in addition to their 6-month reporting to make sure you still have your 501c3 status, are you filing with the AG, that kind of stuff. So if we find anything, which we actually did find some stuff going through this process initially, we'll let you know. And the same goes if y'all hear something like, oh, that organization's going under, let us know. Our team in this, so but yeah, we have that responsibility as a
would be very interested to see how we compare with the other 3 Cs, as in
Okay.
Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus, or Franklin, Hamilton, and Cuyahoga.
Okay.
I always find it valuable to know how they're approaching. I understand they may have a lot more money, just the structure here, but just broad strokes, what their approach has been. Not necessarily this year, but maybe next year after we have a couple cycles under our belt. Just I'm curious how they are managing and where they're going.
Okay.
And then I'll ask you a question in terms of, I know when we did our allocation group, there was really a lot of discussion about ensuring that we had good representation of our community included in the awards. I think we paid a special attention to marginalized communities, and it seems like we've entered an era where diversity is much less important and in some ways discouraged. So I guess, is the board considering kind of issues of diversity as a factor, as an intentionally non-factor? Has there been anything you can share from the board level?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, because the regions pick their funding priorities, so I'd say if that continues to be something that's important to Region 3, then y'all review the grants and make your recommendations. But we have not had a bigger discussion about that. Discussions have really been about the money.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hi, this is Tom Olmsted. I know we're just catching our breath following all the great work that was done. Do you have any sense of when things will start moving ahead and actively regarding the next round?
I wish I did, but I do not. We've made kind of all the improvements and changes that we can, but until we know kind of from our board where we're headed, to move forward any further. I think we all would like a little more clarity kind of on what's happening. But it's a big decision, and like I said, there's different viewpoints on our board. Some folks are of the mind like let's spend it fast and in big chunks. Other folks feel like we're the new kid on the block in the behavioral health space. There's already a lot of great work happening, a lot of great planning. a lot of funding already, you know, let's be strategic and find out, you know, maybe where's the unique niche for One Ohio funding. Other folks would like us to kind of let this grant round play out. You know, it's 45.4 million over 3 years. Like, let's let that work happen and then do some strategic planning, needs assessment, you know, to, again, use data to inform kind of where do we go. So a lot of different views. They meet next week. It's been an ongoing discussion. So as staff, you know, we've been doing our part to just present to our board, you know, what other states are doing, any planning, needs assessment type work they're doing, what are best practices in making and in community foundations, which is what we are, a community foundation. Really, they'll make that decision. Yeah. As soon as we know
Thank you.
more, I will share.
Thanks.
We all want to start planning. And what I can say, because I will fight back on this point, we need a heads up, okay? You know, last time it was staff started and it was go, go, go. And so I appreciate y'all for gearing up as quick as y'all did so that we could get that first round done. But I think we all want a little more heads up and we want all the dates kind of on the front end. So that is my goal. And as staff, that's what I will advocate for.
Has anybody seen or done any kind of research to discern what the nature of the underlying problem is in Ohio at this point? I mean, before all this money is going out.
Yeah, our board in that work. Others on this board may know, you know, things that exist that could help inform all of our work, but we've not.
Sarah, your response to that last question, not the judges, made it sound like the foundation board might decide not to do a round? Or are they deciding how much to include in this round?
It's really more, how long do we want these funds to last? How often do we want to do a round? Is it every year? Is it every other year? Because all that then kind of informs how long the money will last and ultimately the investment strategy that goes along with it. We don't need all the money right now that we have, so we'll invest what we can to make it grow. Until some of those kind of like foundational questions are answered, we kind of can't move forward with anything.
Interesting, because I thought there was gonna be a pot of money every year for 14 or 18 years that
They've
would go.
not voted to allocate money that way.
Kind of on that point about voting to allocate money, is it I understand there's a mix of the regional representation and then there's appointed board members based upon the legislature. Is it a straight vote of all members, or is that decision made by an executive committee? Do you know how that decision will be made?
It should be made by the full board.
Okay.
And for our board, for a motion to pass, you have to have a member of each of our classes. So a metro appointee, which y'all are considered a metro region, a non-metro, one of our legislative appointees, and one of our statewide appointees. Appointees are appointed by you have to have majority, you gotta have quorum, you have to have a majority, and then each of those classes has to vote for it to pass. So. Yeah, if y'all have thoughts, I would reach out to Judge Mattia, as he is your board member on our board. You know, regions seem to kind of feel different ways too. I know I was at a region earlier in the week that felt like addiction's an age-old problem. It's a chronic disease. Let's have the money, you know, for as long as we can, and like let's use research and data to make really smart, targeted decisions. Because this probably isn't going anywhere. Other regions, you know, were like, let's go, give it to us now. So staff will do whatever the board votes for us to do.
Are board members able to make recommendations? Does it have to come as a recommendation from the chair?
Like our board members?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone could motion or a suggestion.
something in mind.
Well, I think we'd have to respond. We'd have to see what's coming before we'd have something in mind. I mean, I think, just conversation I've had with Dr. Gilson, and I've heard that there has been some reduction in overdose deaths. So it seems like the conditions are changing, but I also, I don't think I have any reports in front of me to say that that's stable, or if that's just a blip on a trend. So I think we'd have to see what's occurring for us to take a position.
Well, I think that your reporting back and those emails that we receive are even more helpful in situations that we find ourselves in right now, which is that we're all kind of looking at the state board to figure out what our next step is. And so if you could obviously keep that up, but then also if anything new comes to light and share that with us, I think it would be incredibly helpful.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't get the emails, after every single one of the foundation's board meetings, we send a board meeting. There is a vote, it will be in there, and as soon as I get enough kind of, what they're doing and have a sense of kind of a timeline and next steps, I'll be communicating that with y'all, because it may mean we need to start scheduling more meetings. Like, anything could happen, so I'll keep y'all posted, but this has been, the board's been meeting for years, and this has always been kind of the biggest question, and people feel very differently about it, so.
Mayor, if I could ask a question, just as somebody who helps support the board. Sarah, do you have suggestions of what's the best use of our time while we wait for direction from the state? So like last summer, or maybe even 2 years ago at this point, we worked together to identify priorities so that we were ready once the application came out, and a small group of us kind of identified very specific things. So would that be time well spent, or to David's point, would we kind of do a few talking points about what we would advocate for that we could send with Judge Mattia as our representative, or what might you recommend?
Yeah, I think if y'all have thoughts about, the foundation, kind of the philosophy and longevity, I would get those to him as soon as possible. Because like I said, our board meets next Wednesday. They could vote then. I don't know. They could vote in April. But all of the region reps, they're a board member of a statewide nonprofit foundation. So they kind of then have got to think about the whole organization too. Just want to make sure folks kind of know that too. So you could absolutely do that. I know y'all talked about kind of some reorganizing, like looking at the bylaws, looking at your roster. Are there folks on this board that have never shown up? Are there people that we want to get on here that can then be the grant reviewers? So take some time to maybe look at that. To do all those things on the front end, so that if we all of a sudden got to start going, you're ready to go, and we're not scrambling for grant reviewers and quorum and people. So I would definitely do that, and that's what most regions are doing. Looking at their rosters, making some bylaws changes, getting the reappointments, making sure you got the people. And I think your quarterly schedule's probably good. Given that, maybe the next meeting is some of the kind of reorganizing type work. When is your third meeting? Is it September or October?
I believe it's
Or August?
It's August.
It's August, okay.
September 10th.
Oh, September 10th? Okay, we should be able to have the outcomes and fiscal reporting report by that meeting. So I would keep that one, and like that can be the business, like, hey, here's how it's going. And then I'm sure by the end of the year, there'll be something we're doing. That'd be my recommendation based on what I know, but please know that it may change.
I see Lauren has his hand up on the screen.
Hi, yes. Hello, everyone. I just had a question about the board's coordination with the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, soon to be named the Department of Behavioral Health. Specifically, I know that the cannabis legalization bill initially obligated 25% of the excise tax to be collected by the department specifically for the purposes of alleviating substance abuse and related research. And while the department will retain those funds, there is no obligated use. And so I'm wondering, is there a discussion with the department about how they're strategically going to manage any of those funds? And should there be any efforts to make that complementary with the statewide deployment efforts here?
Yeah, okay, so when you say statewide deployment efforts, are you referring to the foundation's work to distribute the opioid settlement funds?
Correct.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with OMOS and talk with them frequently. I think there's a lot moving with marijuana and synthetic. There's a lot happening right now. So I think as things shake out more, we'll have a little more clarity about where we may be able to partner and be an asset. So I think more to come, but we are looking for where we can complement other work that is happening. And do something unique, not compete with others or, go into a space where there's already a bunch of people.
Is that, can I just, for clarifying, and I apologize for being late, is that for your, what was it, 55% or the foundation's allotment also, like what you're doing with those funds?
As far as like coordinating with OMOS?
Yeah, well, because we got, it was 3 sets of money, right, that came out of it. So the foundation got a chunk of like the total amount, the local, and then the counties. And so specifically, because I just haven't had very many discussions on the money that you guys are getting, is that what you're saying? Or do you guys know what you're doing with those funds?
Yeah, well, so we know what we're doing with the allocation we just made, but our board has not made a decision on what we're doing moving forward with the funds.
With your
In
fund,
terms
okay.
of longevity, how long do we want it to last? Is there gonna be a consistency in the amount of giving? Because otherwise we could only do 51 million a couple times, and then we will be running out of money. So it's like there's a lot we're trying to balance. So some local governments are pulling us in to help coordinate or share the projects that weren't funded so they can fund them. So we're trying to partner and coordinate as much as we can, but also keep the oxygen mask on ourselves because we got a lot. So, but to your point, there's a lot happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of change. There's a lot of uncertainty. And so I think as soon as we get some clarity on kind of the foundation's goals and where we're headed and short and long-term goals, I think we'll be able to partner and work.
And I didn't mean to deter from Lauren's question. I didn't know. I just wanted to clarify. So thank you.
Mayor, can I add about Lauren's question? So, the Adams Board's also very interested in working with the OMAS on that, the marijuana tax funds, because, we believe that it should come back to the local communities, and being that the Adams Boards are the local planner, funders, and monitors, that the money, should come to the Adams Boards, as well as, have OMAS have some for their statewide initiatives. But we're really interested in having that money as well. Rather than the foundation, sorry to say. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can just follow up on that quickly. The reason I bring this up is I'd be interested in the coordination. I tend to agree that the dollars associated with this should also be supportive for the dollars that are being distributed through the opioid settlement, meaning if there's ways to build complementary infrastructure. I'd also highlight, though, that the 36% of the excise tax is going to local municipalities, the majority of which will be concentrated in the city of Cleveland, given that that's where well, that's where the dispensaries are. And so I would just...
They're going to take it away.
No, I know. It's going to take time for policy.
Things are going to take it away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, for other things.
Exactly, that's the fight going on right now.
Yeah.
That's the fight.
Legislation into the. Yeah, they haven't we haven't gotten any.
No, I know. But I just wanted to highlight, I think what we could think about as an advisory group is that those dollars in particular should probably be focused on decarceral strategies associated with the mass incarceration from the criminalization of behavioral health associated with the laws that, were illegal in the first place. So I think this is just going to be one area where we have to think synthetically, for lack of a better way to describe it, around where the statewide foundation plays a role, where our jurisdiction over some of the local dollars might be most useful for the opioid settlement, and then how that might play into some of the legalization efforts, because I think we think systemically and focus in on those needs and sort of a reparative activity. I think that would be an ideal situation. So just my 2 cents on that particular topic.
Thank you. Anything else for Sarah at this point? All right, thank you. We're gonna move into new and old business, and in old business, just from today, we have a nominee for vice chair, Lauren Anthes, who is now with us. Will you accept that nomination?
Sure, happy to.
Okay. Are there any other nominations on the floor? Seeing none. Oh,
Sorry, question.
We had a Robert's Rules of Order question.
yes.
We saw that the legislation changed so that your board can meet remotely, right? The state board.
Because you're a nonprofit.
Excuse me.
Correct, we are a nonprofit.
Can voting members meet remotely for
Yes,
this
it
region?
applies to the constituent.
Okay, and so we can vote remotely?
Okay, yes, thank you, just for
Thank you.
clarification.
Unless your bylaws say something different, but you have the ability to.
We can, because I thought I know like the county can't, I know this isn't a,
Correct.
can I,
There's
can
a
I,
lot of revised code language clarifying that the
You're right.
I'm sorry.
foundation's constituent regional boards are nonprofits, not subject to some of the laws that govern
Right.
governments. So we can meet virtually, we can vote virtually, things like that. So unless your bylaws say something different, like, votes, you must be in person to vote or something.
I can check our bylaws and we'll make sure, Mayor, but
Okay.
also, if you don't mind, I just wanna, and I completely understand, but I know to date, some things have came up where there's been some things that came from One Ohio that our law department questioned also because of, so I just wanna make sure that that's okay with them, and then we
Sure.
can let the rest of everybody know if that's okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So anyone
Looks
joining
great.
us,
Can we see if we can advocate for that?
Absolutely, 100%, like, if it's allowable, I'm all for it, I just, wanna
No,
make
yeah,
sure that
I
they're,
understand.
yeah.
I understand.
And we're happy to connect with them too.
Probably will be the case, but if it's just something where we just have to change our bylaws, then we can, that's not a problem.
we can put that in our new business when you review the bylaws as well. For today's purposes, then anyone joining us virtually will not be able to vote. Anyone who is here, present in this room, can, and we have a quorum. Okay, so seeing no other nominees for vice chair, Lauren Anthes is nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor of Lauren Anthes to be the vice chair, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Moving into new business. Brandy.
So the bylaws, I had asked, and so thank you, Kevin, for him to attach the bylaws, and I know it was just yesterday, so I didn't expect to talk about those today, but I just wanted to put out there, if everybody just wanted to look at those in the coming months, and then when we meet next time, we can, make any necessary changes after we talk about them. So I'd request that if there are suggestions, that they send those to both Kevin, and you can CC the mayor and I, and just so we can talk about them, and I can put that on the agenda for the next meeting, as well as looking into this virtual and making sure it's not an issue.
Did you send out the bylaws?
Did you attach?
Yeah, they should have been attached to the email I sent out yesterday.
I didn't, Kevin did, sorry.
Okay.
And I also have them on the Region 3 webpage, Foundation's website.
And I guess, when this board was created, that's when the foundation said, everyone has to make a board, and there wasn't, which was nice, there wasn't a lot of, requirements around how we set it up. So this is like a larger board than a lot of my boards, 20-something members is a lot. And so not that that's bad, but just, I think we can really, like, this is the first time we've looked at it since then. So I think people can look at more than just like some of the, the administrative things that we usually do and really like identify whether, just overall what could work, what suggestions you might have. So I would say be open, then, some bylaws, it's just more administrative, so. Great.
Good. That makes a lot of sense.
I would just add too, in the next couple of months, I'm gonna try to reach out to each board member just to, clear up, like, we have board terms that might be coming up this year that we wanna look at renewing, as well as making sure that we have like designated alternates that are kind of solid, just because some things have kind of gotten lost in the mix over the last year or so. So since we're a little more downtime with the funding cycle, it'd be a good time to look at all the administrative stuff and clean all that up. So just look out for that in the next couple months before our next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. Brandy, we had briefly discussed right before you came in about reviewing the priorities for future funding cycles. And you obviously have that, that was something that you wanted to sort of bring up today. Were you interested in going about it the same way as we did last time, where you had like a subgroup that met and discussed, or what were your thoughts?
Sure, thank you, I appreciate that. It was kind of twofold when I was thinking about it. One, I wasn't sure if the foundation, and I knew you might not know at this point, because I know you guys have so much going on. I can't imagine contracting with all these entities right now and metrics and everything else. But I didn't know if they even knew when we get to like a priority for the next funding, because this last time, remember, it was like people could ask for anything they wanted, which was rare. And I didn't know if you guys might even know whether you're gonna identify what some of those restrictions might be, because you had mentioned at one time like housing only or something, or if that's something that'll be on, that we locally will be able to decide. And so I just wanted to see like if the foundation knew. And then two, also, and I think you guys already addressed it, my suggestion would be, but it's whatever obviously you guys think is best, that committee worked really well. It seemed like to take the time. And so I thought that worked great, so I would advocate, but I think it's up to everybody to decide what makes sense. So so those were the two components I was thinking about.
Well, I think what we heard from Sarah today is they don't know. Nobody knows yet.
Yeah.
That was.
But there will be some changes to the RFP. We're gonna continue to get more specific, because there were definitely, say it this way. We're gonna do more work on the front end so that things roll faster on the back end. So having a lot more about evidence base on the front end, a lot more about what is allowable and what isn't, and probably drilling down more into the specifics of what folks want to see and what do we mean with certain things, because then it created just a lot more forth. I think everyone would appreciate just more clarity and like what are we all actually really looking for. How that ends up looking, I don't know, but that's a consistent theme. Our committee met earlier this week. Like, let's do way more of that work on the front end. So we haven't got into kind of what the next funding round may be, if it's the same thing again. What I will say though is we'll do more screening too. So if y'all set, these are our 3 funding priorities, that's all people can apply for. We won't let other things come through. So we'll do kind of more of that, if folks are, if it's an incomplete application, we'll pull them. Like they're not even gonna come to you. I think after this first round, there's more trust built and folks are now more open to, we'll let the foundation kind of weed some of the stuff out. That's y'all's job. Give us the stuff that actually was complete and meets what we're looking for. So hopefully that will mean that you'll have, what you review is stuff that just checks the box, and then it's really looking for, is it competitive for what y'all are looking for.
That's helpful.
So hopefully that helps. And that's why I said more work on the front end, smoother for y'all. But I never think it's too late. I mean, already questions were brought up about what's happening with fentanyl, and overdose death rates. Was it a blip? Is it a trend? I think, whatever time you can spend, continuing to pour into yourselves about, maybe, what is SOS funding happened in our and, you know, the latest data just will make setting your funding priorities more informed. Sense for kind of what is going on right now.
So, and I'd be happy to, work on something for the next meeting, in regards to that, but I think if you're okay with, or if the board is, however we wanna do it, whether we put it on the agenda to discuss at the next meeting, or if we meet as a subcommittee, that grant committee, to start talking about priorities and really reviewing this, I think it might be a good time, just because, we just wanna be ready if, or when that happens, obviously.
Well, I guess my recommendation would be that subcommittee assemble and start meeting shortly, because as we've heard, we don't know when the next funding cycle might come down, and I believe that, I think we would all in this room feel more comfortable if that work was just done, and that we are not feeling rushed or pressured to make decisions in a way that would kind of force us, I think, into a corner or something. So that would be my recommendation, if there's any members who would like to offer another recommendation, but.
I just would put out there, if anybody else wants to be on the group, you're more than welcome to also, so.
They would contact you to let you know.
Myself, yeah,
Or
or
Kevin.
Kevin, either one of us, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. And the last item that we had under new business was, Brandy, a discussion of the 2024 grant awardees and the distributions. We have this, the Region 3 report that
thank you.
the foundation created, which we all really like and think is very helpful. And we had also asked for Sarah to let us know when the other regions are populated on their website, just because it would be interesting to kind of see, how their distributions were versus what we had selected. But was there anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think, and I apologize, I didn't realize that was still on there, thank you, Mayor. I thought that would still go with the discussion you guys already had with the foundation, so thank you.
Okay.
This is helpful though, really helpful.
Yes, it's really nice. Okay. Are there any other items for new business today?
To just clarify, looking back through the email, I noticed the bylaws are the MOU. Are those, is that synonymous?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
This thing called Memorandum of Understanding regarding One Ohio Region 3 Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Because it reads like their bylaws.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
That's how I understood it to be, yeah.
All right. And I just would want to clarify there, it seems somewhat vague as to whether or not we can vote. I think it says we can attend virtually by whatever communication means. I do want us to confirm, to your point about having a lot of meetings, there was a real sprint to get, I think, a lot of the grants done. I think anything we can do virtually, anything we can do that kind of limits the number of times we have to step away from our other work to come here would be great.
I don't know, maybe this Jill, or I guess there's a lot of lawyers around me. I was thinking about this main board, and I think it's great if we can meet virtually. But then even like for the subcommittee, like I don't see a problem why we couldn't continue to meet virtually, right? We're not voting on items, so.
It's just a recommendation.
Yeah, okay. So that's helpful, but I'll still confirm and follow up with everybody. Thank you.
Great.
Can I make one more suggestion under new business?
Yes, please.
And maybe Brandy volunteered for this a few minutes ago, but I thought this would be a good moment for this board to do kind of a check-in, to your point. What is the status of the crisis in our county? And there are people around this room who know that very closely, and others who only read about it in the papers or see other reports. So, I'm looking at Scott or Brandy or anybody who could, last year we had Tom Gilson come in.
I was gonna reach
Yeah.
back out to him also, and Scott, and maybe
Which
like
is great.
all of us could put stuff together so
Yeah.
that it's, you
That'd
know,
be
for
very
everybody
helpful.
for the next meeting.
What do we
That's my
see
plan.
happening, cause there's lots of information,
Mhm.
good and bad information floating, and we've got good information amongst us, so it'd be great to share that. As we, get ready to look at the next round of, we want treatment, we want prevention, we want.
I'll see if for the main board for the next meeting, like a number of those, maybe 4 or 5 different ones can come and present exactly that, and then we can work from there.
That'd be great.
That was kind of the point that I was trying to make a little bit earlier too, that it's kind of hard for you to decide where you want to put your emphasis if you are not really clear as to where the nature of the problem resides. So I mean, anything that we've got that helps us focus on what the state of the art and the state of play is at this point, I think is invaluable to us making intelligent decisions about.
Absolutely.
We had talked about kind of creating a dashboard of sort, not necessarily that it has to be public, but for our own sake, so as we're making these decisions, and again, I don't have the data at my fingertips either, I could tell you what's happening in Euclid, but not countywide or even system-wide. And not to create more work, I'm not, but if there were, I don't know how many things, 8 things, 10 things that we want to track on a quarterly basis or twice a year. Certainly, fatalities is one, overdoses, I would think, can we track what can we track without having to create something new and just having a dashboard of, let's watch the trends. I don't know if, Scott, do you guys have anything in existence already?
No, we follow the medical examiner,
Okay.
right, with his dashboard. And, we know that the heroin is not an issue anymore, basically. It still is, but you know what I mean? It's mostly fentanyl, which are in street drugs, right? And our best defense that we have right now is harm reduction. And that's what we work towards, and letting people know. And we don't condone illicit drug use, but you need to know that it could be in there, and we want to save your life so you can get into treatment.
Like last year, there was a significant reduction in the amount of overdose deaths as opposed to previous years, but just like all data, that might seem a little construed because it's, it's also because of individuals who have other drug, addictions, and there's fentanyl that comes in crack, and it was just a weekend crack user, so some of that detail, but I think, I remember us talking about this a number of times, Mayor and Gilson came in, but maybe there is like some, like kind of like what you said, like 8 different metrics that we could just look at, knowing that it doesn't have the whole picture, but it's just for some consistency,
And I think the group around the table can say what it is. Is it the number of people showing up in the court? Is it that are,
Right.
have had opioid issues? I don't know them all, but.
The other thing I'd lift up though is not just the local data, but sort of to Lauren's point, what's going on at the state. So right now, there's big discussions about Medicaid expansion, whether it will continue, whether it will go away. For example, if Medicaid expansion no longer exists, this population of folks is one of the populations that is going to be impacted the most. So that would have cataclysmic results for this. So what is potentially happening at the state level? Not only what is the state level One Ohio doing and Ohio Moss, but what about Recovery Ohio with their 7 strategic initiatives that they're moving forward? So finding that sweet spot based on where they've got money and lots of resources, where can we then complement from a local level as well? So I think some of those key state things really should be front of mind for folks.
I love that y'all are having this discussion. It's what I know the staff at the foundation want to see happening, and we'd love to be able to facilitate some of this stuff for all of the regions. I'll send y'all, it will be in the toolkit, but I want you to have it now. I pulled all of the county dashboards that do exist, like the behavioral health one and some of the other stuff. It sounds like you may have kind of some homegrown ones you can pull in as well. So I tried to pull what are all the county resources,
Public
but
data is already available.
yeah, we'd love to, have stuff built, dashboards where you guys can just look in and see. I don't know if our board will let us do any of that stuff, but I think these are great examples of things that the foundation staff could and would love to make for everybody so that we're all making informed decisions and know, I mean, these are finite resources. Once these opioid settlement funds are gone, they're gone. And so how do we get the most out of them and put them in places where we know they're gonna drive a change and lasting impact? And if we're not looking at data, we're not gonna know. So that's.
Lauren has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So in my newfound role of interminable authority, one of the reasons why I wanted to check as to whether or not I could accept the appointment is HMA has a administrative relationship with several counties and states around the country, acting as a information and data and administrative resource for opioid settlement. And part of my request internally was to see if I could offer essentially resources without like contractual conditions to help think through things. So if it would be beneficial, number one, I would offer, I can bring in some of our expertise from other states and other counties and talk about how did they organize their data and their decision-making process around data. And then we also have access to TMSIS, which is the National Clearinghouse for all claims in Medicare and Medicaid, as well as Definitive, which is the clearinghouse for all commercial claims. And I can pull out county-specific information that tells you stuff like who's being admitted for the ER, what billing codes are being used, what's the incidence and surveillance rate. So if and when it's ever useful, I'd be more than happy to bring some colleagues in to just advise or provide some additional data for the subcommittee to consider.
Maybe like Lauren and Scott, I just volunteered you, and whoever else, like we could have a quick call sometime in the next like couple weeks, week or two, and just kind of put our heads together on some of these data and metrics and propose what like this dashboard could look like or something at the next meeting.
Okay.
And then we could also, you could follow up on some of those, because I personally think that that's great and good information to know and hear.
That would be great.
Is our next meeting?
August, September.
It's quarterly, so not for.
May 21st.
May,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Everyone.
I'm jumping ahead.
Jumping way ahead.
What month is this?
Something was in September
What month
that we
was
just
this?
talked about.
Yeah, the next meeting.
Yeah.
The one after the May meeting.
The one after the next one.
You know, one of my reasons for raising that was a concern that, because we did hear the report from Tom Gillison that there's a drop in fatality, which, you know,
Great.
it's great news. And there's all this national attention now about, you know, fighting fentanyl. It'd be really important to continue to know how big a problem is it, because people relax sometimes when you heard the first, you know, bit of good news. So just stay focused on the facts is.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and to that point, Scott and I were having a sidebar, you know, one of Dr. Gilson's limitations that while he can provide excellent data on the what is, who's overdosing, often what's exactly the cocktail upon which they're overdosing, the trends, always loath to say why in terms of increases or decreases, because that is the most difficult thing for him to suggest, and he can only provide theories as to why he thinks there's spikes, there's reductions. So, right, those reductions may go down for a number of reasons, like distribution chains that are upset for a temporary period of time. And to your point, you know, they could spike back up if a distribution chain back into Ohio resurfaces. So you're right. You have to remain vigilant.
And of course, the harm reduction efforts, right, that we're doing, we hope that had an impact on, you know, cancer deaths.
Right.
And then, you know, it's hard to get statistics on harm reduction, right, because you don't have to report it, right? It's free things that we're giving out. But we've had people tell us, right, that they have used it or they've come back again and tell people. And we know that,
That can
we
become
know that things are
actionable
being taken.
information. Okay, let's put money in harm reduction.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of those conversations because of the media stories recently with Dr. Gilson. I've had a lot of the same
Yeah.
ones.
somewhat unrelated question. Is the state, anyone at the state level or the foundation board tracking other uses of the opioid money, so the money that goes directly to localities or counties? I know we get some, and we just got some guidance about what it can be spent on, what it can't be spent on, but I guess we're kind of struggling with what to do with it.
Yeah.
And we don't get a ton, but
Yeah.
has there been any kind of coordination outside of the foundation? Or to the other cities? Are you guys?
I think I mean, just to interject, I think we as a city are in the same situation. We probably have even less than Euclid received, but it's sort of like there's this pot of money sitting there. How do we best utilize it? How do we best deploy that into the community? And we've not come up with an answer yet.
I was just gonna mention, so I had a new position that was new and I had planned to hire last summer. And unfortunately, something really tragic happened, so that didn't move forward. But we do have another new position, John O'Donnell, and he's not here today. His background is, he's been working in emergency management for a long time, really capable person. But I am gonna have him start working more and more on the opioid stuff. One of the things I was gonna ask him to do is reach out to all the cities, because just to kind of coordinate, maybe put like a meeting together to see like where maybe he could help facilitate, like whether there's a regional project you guys wanna do, because it was just kind of thrown to everybody in like, started coming in a fund. And if people don't wanna participate, that's okay, but then there's some opportunities where we can help facilitate that process, so. That was a delay, but I will make sure that happens soon, Mayor, too.
And the foundation doesn't have oversight to the 30% or the 15%. We are getting questions like y'all are asking, what do we do with it? What's the best use of it? But a couple of the other metro regions, they talk about the local funds at their region board meeting. So that they know when, the county or the big cities are maybe doing an RFP, so they're not conflicting. So that can maybe be another activity, is kind of get reports out from all the county, the municipalities, townships, what are folks doing with it? And Franklin County had like liaisons that kind of went and would talk to all like the suburbs and what are they doing? And so I know many of them, I think, are letting funds accrue for it to be a significant amount to do something with. But hearing consistent trends, and we have some resources on our website to help as much as we can. Kind of the guidance from the auditor. Can't give legal advice to the local governments, but if we can help, let us know.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you all. Wonderful discussion today. Appreciate all of you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 3:07 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.